Hello, Kelly here of Kelly's Work of Life, and today we have class 5 in lessons from Lenormand. So in this class, I have been introducing the Lenormand deck and using the book, Raina George's book, The Essential Lenormand. And she has just come out with a new edition of this book. And so it's one in the next couple of months as I finish up this class. I'm going to get the new book and compare it to the one that I have because she has updated it and put some new things in it. I'm really interested to see what are some things that she's updated, the way that I don't think that necessarily the way she reads cards is different, but I definitely think that the cards, the meanings and things like that, she's expanded on so that it is more, up to date to our day and age. And that's one of the great things about any kind of card system, whether you use tarot or oracle cards or whatever that you use. And Lenormand, Lenormand has very, it has symbols and it has very specific keywords. But again, the context that these cards that you use the cards in readings changes, and it needs to update for the time. So I'm really interested to read the new book. So hopefully I'll be able to get my hands on it in the next, week or so. And then in the next, when we're on class 5 now. So by the time we get to the end to class 12, I'll have read the new book and I'll be able to make some comparisons and see, what new things that she came up with. But for this class, what I'm doing, and you can go back all these classes, YouTube now has a classroom. So I put all of these classes in the classroom. You should be able to find them on the classroom tab or classroom area on the home page. So if you've missed any of these classes and you're just catching this class 5, you can go back and re-watch the introductory classes and the class 3 and 4, which are about the first 6 cards in class 3 and the next 6 cards in class 4. And now we're on the next 6 cards. So in this class, we're on cards 13 through 18. So again, you can go back if you're just tuning into this one, go back and listen to the first few so that you'll know what we're doing and you can get in on the card meanings for those first 12 cards. And in class 3, we talk about combination drills and how to put cards together to learn and read with them. And then in class 4, we did the answer line, which is taking 5 or 7 cards, laying them out and doing a reading for that. And today, since we're adding more cards today, we're going to do what is called the box spread. And this is my favorite Lenormand spread. Of all the ones from, the 2 cards to the grand tableau, which is all 36 cards, this 9 card box spread is definitely my favorite because it's a little bit more than the 5 or 7 cards. And it just, I just like it. It's fun to read with. It's not as in depth as a grand tableau, but you can really get a good reading from it. And you'll see that we'll do that. I'll show you an example of that in the end. But first, in this class 5, we're going to go through card 13, which is the child card, 14, fox, 15, bear, 16, stars, 17, stork, and 18, dog. And so I have slides for all of these, so you can just sit back and enjoy, listen to the keywords and the stories and the slides for these cards. All right, get slides up. So, like I said, we're on class 5. And here is the schedule that I have worked up. And so I don't have any dates on it because it's taken me a lot longer to get these classes up than I've wanted. And so I didn't want to put a date on it and not be able to meet that deadline. So I've just been taking my time going along, doing the research and reading the book and, working with these decks that I'm working with and putting the videos up as I get to them. So we're on class 5, and you can find a PDF, and I'll link it in the description. You can find a PDF that has the schedule on it, that the information about the decks and the book, and also it has some journaling pages that if you want to download and print out, you can use those for yourself to take notes and to do your own spreads, however you want to use those. So that will be in the description box when I am finished. So this is a review, and this I decided I put in the introductory video, but I think it's good just to go over it since we're still referring back to the book. And so a lot of the keywords and things that are on the sides I got from this book, from Raina George's book. And so she talks about many different contexts that the cards can be used in. And and for each card, you can see that she talks about, the future, how long it's going to be, a time period that might fit for this card, whether it's more a woman card or a man card, feminine card or masculine card, if it has to do with work, how you can use it, how it relates to love or relationships, health, body and spirit, money, time or timing, advice or action, orientation, and objects and areas. And so, because some of the cards are more, I have specific kind of places in them, but are they more of a place, or are they more of a thing? Are they more descriptor, or how can they work as those different things? And I think this is one of the things that's going to be updated in the new book, and as looking at these things and how it applies to, how our life now, because even in the last 10 years, a lot of these things have changed a lot. And so, looking at them and updating them is, I think will be fun. But just keep in mind that the keywords that we're going to learn the keywords, and I've definitely, put the keywords and pared them down a lot. So if you want to learn more of them, then you can look in the book for those. Then she also adds personal anecdotes, stories about readings that she's done with each of the cards, the traditional meanings that come from the original ways that Lenormand was used in, and how there are certain ways that Lenormand is read. And so then the cards have, a set of meanings, and that if you read in that way, then you just use those meanings. And they do change, a lot of them are pretty much the same, but some of them are different. And some of them are very different in how they're interpreted in different ways. And so if you continue to read Lenormand, you can definitely get more into that. And then she has combinations and examples, which a lot of books have that. And it's just a good way to look at the card and see how it's read with something else, because especially with Lenormand, it's meant to be read together. It's meant to be read with at least another card, or, more cards. So it definitely makes a difference if you have a card and then what card is before it, what card is after it, those kinds of things. And in the grand tableau, you'll be looking at where certain cards are and where, if they're close or far away and all that. But we'll get into that, as we go along. But I'm using Raina George's deck, which is this Lenormand deck. And I'm also have included the Wicked Tales Lenormand, and I've gotten some things out of this guidebook as well. So you'll see that on the sides and the cards. for that. And because I wanted to have some that, were really, that looked very different. Rain and George's deck is a very traditional deck. It's very much, just, the symbol and, maybe a background, and that's it. Now it does have, her deck does have the playing card associations, but I'm not going to get into that because it's just a deeper layer that I don't know it well enough to really teach it or talk about it. And it's just, something, if you are really interested in Lenormand and want to make that connection with the playing cards, then you can do that as well. So that's what we are going to be covering when you see the screens with the cards on them, then you'll know that this is kind of the background where it came from. And then these are some important points from Raina George's book that she says, generally about reading in, any types of reading that you do, or specifically for Lenormand readings, that remember that time. And we look at Lenormand a lot more for specific time because it does have more specific keywords than something that you might use for tarot or oracle cards. But just remember too that when you read, time can be malleable, that we can look at it, your reading may be coming from a different point of view that's not necessarily linear, like we like to look at time, or we kind of have, time as being linear. So just kind of keep that in mind. Then the cards have orientations. They have positive, you'll see positive, negative, or neutral. And so you'll see that, and you'll see that some cards are positive, some cards are negative, some cards are neutral. But again, it depends on the cards that are around them too, and that positive and negative and neutral. But I think I really like to work with, that kind of orientation, because you can see them, and you'll have that just kind of off the bat, because you can see, like, if there's more positive cards, together or more negative cards, or, are there neutral cards? So it really gives you kind of a flavor to the reading. Personal anecdotes are something that you gain over time. And she has a lot of personal anecdotes in her book. And it's, again, taking notes, writing down your readings. Every time that you pull a card and you do the combination drills, write them down, or, I like to make videos or voice memos. And when I do readings, just so that I'm not, writing down a lot of times. And sometimes it's easier to talk through your reading. It's easier to look at it and to talk it out instead of write it down. And then you can take notes and maybe write it out. But, having those personal anecdotes, you need a way to record them. And she goes into the nuance, going deeper, how the card, reflects certain things, how some are thought of more as in certain areas, like the house card that we did in class 3 is more like a place, a specific place. But then you can go deeper with it and think, well, what else could you add to house, for it to, to go deeper with that card. And that's, again, something that you'll learn along the way. And she talks about a little bit, and that, doing the readings and keeping track of your readings is a good way to learn that nuance. And then finally, there are cards in Lenormand that have to do with health. And the tree card is one that we did in class 3. And the tree card has a medical reading, and a health, a keyword in relationship. And so you have to decide how comfortable you feel doing a medical reading, and always, refer anyone that you read for to a professional. If there's any question, there's any doubt, anything, that goes beyond the scope of what you are there to do. Always refer to professional. Okay, so that's kind of the review of the overview of Lenormand. All right, so let's go into. So this one, we are doing cards 13 through 18. So this is the next 6 in the deck. And the child card is number 13. Now, the numbers, I always put the numbers on here, and it's a good thing to learn numbers because when you get to the grand tableau, you have the houses. You have each card, like for child, the house in a grand tableau, the house is number 13. So if you looked at the grand tableau, you would have them all the numbers, 1 through 36. And if you looked on number 13, then that house is the house of the child, number 13, and it's the 13th position. Then when you put another card on top of it, you have a card in that house. So you may have the child in the child, which means something, of course. And then you might have something else. You might have the house in the child card, or you might have clouds in the child house. And so that just gives a deeper meaning to it. But to do that, you need to know the numbers and where they are. So learning the numbers at first and kind of getting yourself, and I'm not saying to sit down and just memorize the numbers or memorize a grand tableau, but as you're working with them, see how you can work with the number as well, so that that just becomes part of how you read. So number 13, this is a child card, and you see Raina George's card is over here on the left, and then on the right here, this is the card from the Wicked Tales Lenormand. So the child can mean innocence, new ways, a carefree attitude. It can be a child. It can be, just a child, your child, somebody else's child, a child. It can also be, and you see it down here where it says subject or adjective. It can be the subject, so that it can be a child or a person, somebody who's new at something, but it can also be an adjective where you might have child next to another card, and that just means something that's small or immature, or something that is bringing this effervescence of life to something. And it can also mean here a minor, a person who is a minor, or it can be something that is minor. And so, I like that because I was an English major, and I loved writing, and I loved, learning subjects and adjectives and things like that. So this is it's fun for me to do this, and and thinking of this as a subject or an adjective, is fun. But anyway, that is the keywords for child. And it is something that in time is not something that happens very quickly. It's something that's more slow. It's neutral, very much has to do with the other cards around it. And in timing, it can mean 13 days, weeks, or 13 months, which is, a little over a year. So it can mean any of those things. And again, with timing, this is a thing that is very much up to you, how you interpret the timing. You might see the 13 and automatically think 13 days, or something like that. So, and it can be, and as you do more readings with it and use the numbers, this will kind of come to you. So then on the right here, we have the ghost child in the Wicked Tales Lenormand. And this is more cherishing that inner child, because we all have our inner children. And some of us have really good relationships with our inner child. And some of us might not have very good relationship with our inner child. But cherishing that inner child and cherishing that time of innocence and bringing it into your life now is the kind of the message from this card here. saying that it's okay, to be childlike. It's okay to play. It's okay to do the things that you enjoy while you are a child. And then in the Wicked Tales, Lenormand, in the guidebook, she has Monica Bodorsky has some reflection questions to go along with each card. And I thought they were really good questions. So I kind of pulled one of those into here for you to reflect on. So for a child, it's what is the difference between childlike and childish? And are there times when we want to be childlike? And are there times when maybe being childlike is not the answer? Are there times that we want to be childish, but maybe not be childish? And so this again goes into that, to really working with the cards and looking at those nuances and seeing, how is this child, when the child card comes up, with another card, what does it mean? What does it mean to go with that other card? Okay, so this is card 13, child. And then card 14, this is fox. And the fox card can mean plotting or devious, or someone very concerned with safety, especially the safety of their family. Can mean stealth or treachery, manipulation. A survivor can mean a trap. And you can kind of get from this that the fox is probably not, and you can see down at the bottom here, it's not a very positive. It's considered a negative card. It's something that's telling you that something is not right, something that is underhanded, something that is foxy. But it can also be, and it can also be warning you that you need to be not treacherous necessarily, but you need to be stealthy. Maybe you need to be plotting in a way so that you are getting what you want, that you are making decisions for yourself, or it may be warning you that there is someone, that is, not, that doesn't have your best interest at heart. And that's always a good thing to know. If we think that someone is being very forthcoming, or we think that someone is doing something for us out of the goodness of their heart, and then the fox card comes up, that might be a warning that we need to maybe ask some questions. So this can be, since it's 14, it can be 14 days or 2 weeks or the 14th of the month. It's something that is very quick. It is something that, comes up, a lot of times comes up very quickly and happens very quickly, or it's a realization that you have that's very quick. And again, it's a negative card. And this is representative of the everyday job, your daily work, what you do on a daily basis, what you do when the things that you do maybe in your house before you leave for home, or the things that you do if you work at home. What are the things that you do, during the day? Are you on the computer a lot? Do you make a lot of phone calls? Do you, when you go to your office, do you have a commute? Do you have not a long commute? What are things that you do? Do you have a lot of meetings during the day? Those kinds of things. This is the fox card. So you had a question about that you wanted to think about, you had a question about your work, the things that you did during the day, then this would be a card that you would want to use. And so here we have this in the Wicked Tales, Lenormand, we have this kind of floating spirit. And this is reminiscence of a trickster. It's something that, again, goes along the lines of something that seems one way on the outside, but is really, there's ulterior motives there. And so the reflection question here is, when have you felt manipulated by someone's charm? So it can be something that is on the outside, and you really have to look deeper. And Lenormand is great for doing that. If you're not sure, do a reading with it, and you'll get an answer. Okay, so now question or card 15 is Bear, and this is one of my very favorite cards. And because it has that mother bear energy and that taking care and taking charge and making sure that people are taken care of. So bear, defending a territory, being resourceful, being maternal, but it can also be power and strength. It's something that we so it has both a kind of a feminine a feeling of being maternal and taking care of your young as as a mother, but also power and strength, taking care of things as a leader and in a more masculine way. So you can look at it, and again, it's going to depend on the reading. And but if you need something where you are looking for strength or courage, or you have questions about your nutrition or your diet or finances or investments, then the bear is your card. And it is more like the fox is more like your everyday life, the things that you do and kind of the your work, but it's just, just those things that you personally do. This is more high powered positions. So if you are asking about your boss, or you're asking about maybe a something that you were wanted to do financially. And again, with finances or investments, you can do a reading, a general reading, but make sure that if you have any questions about finance or investments, that you do ask a professional, just like if it were a medical reading, because this is not something that you can, if you don't know about it, it's not something that you want to give yourself advice, or especially give other people advice about if you're not, if you don't know. So, but it can stand for that. So if you had a reading, so if you're doing like a grand tableau and you had a person and the bear card was very close to the person as you as the querent, maybe as that person, and the bear was close, then that might be saying that in this time period that you're asking about, that finances or investments might be something wise to do. So you might want to look at something. But if it's maybe not close, then it might be something that has been very well taken care of, or it could mean something else, depending on the reading. But again, if you wanted to do a reading about this and get some insight about any of these things, about a boss, or about you as a boss, or things that you wanted to change, in your nutrition or your diet, then you would use the bear card. So this is a neutral card. So it's going to depend very much on the cards that is around it. And something that is slow, something that's going to take some time. It can be 15 days or the 15th of the month. And here you see on the Wicked Tales Lenormand card, there's a teddy bear here. And we tend to think of teddy bears, as being sweet and comforting, but this teddy bear has some fangs. And so it's going to be sweet and comforting, but it's also going to be protective. It's going to, it's going to be that strength in you. And then the reflection question here is, what role does compromise or negotiation plan in your views of authority? So when you're looking at authority, what does compromise mean to you? What does negotiation mean to you? And so what are some ways that you might need to look at either of those things as you're looking at something, as you're being strong? You want to rely on that strength or call in that strength, but are there times where you need to compromise, and there are times where you need to not compromise? And so this would be a good reading to do with the bear card. So that is card 15, bear. Card 16 is star or stars. Raina George, in her book, her title is Stars with an S, and you can see her card over here. with the stars on it. Here in the Wicked Tales Lenormand, you see star. So this is one of those ones that you'll see interpreted different ways in different cards. But I tend to use stars because there is a star card in tarot. And so this, to me, a little bit differentiates those cards for me, so that this is stars. And they are a little bit similar, but the stars card in Lenormand definitely has its own meaning and its own keywords to it. So here, the star or the stars card is number 16. So can mean peace, tranquility, serenity. Can also mean guidance, because stars were the way people got around once upon a time. It can be a wish, wish upon a star. Be it symbolic of directions or maps, actual, you need to use your GPS to get there. It can be happiness, it can be encouragement, and and it is something that happens very quickly. And it can be the 16 days or the 16th of the month. It is a positive card. And it can also mean consult an astrologer. So if you get the star or the stars card and you have a question, consult an astrologer. And I happen to be an astrologer, so if you need an astrologer, you can consult me and we can look at your stars. So, and I thought that was funny. And so here, this should be star above a city, and the Y got cut off. But here in the Wicked Tales Lenormand, you see just a star. And so it is a star above a city. And we think about, when you think about a guiding star or North Star, it's usually just one star that we're thinking about. So it can mean, that can have that little more of that meaning here as something that you need to use it as a guide. But it can also, when you see the star above the city, because this card also means networking, and networking in lots of different ways. Networking in, actually going out and talking to people, going out and, networking with other people for whatever reason that you need to network with people. And it can also mean networking with your internet, the networks that keep the internet, that keep computers, that keep your phone systems, those kinds of things that keep them alive. So it can, if you get the stars or the star card, it can mean either of those things, personal networking or networking that you need to do. And, maybe that you get a card. If you got the star or the stars card and you got a card, maybe that was, maybe you got snake with it. So maybe you're going to have some trouble with your internet, and because you're going to have the star, but it's going to be a little bit shaky because you've got the snake with it. So you can see how those cards work together and gives you a little bit of meaning to go with it. So the reflection question here is, how much time do you spend working on your goals as opposed to thinking about them? And that is a really good question. And because I do that a lot, and I do thinking, I think that everything has to be planned out, or everything has to be perfect, or everything has to be, in a specific place. And then I never do anything, to get there. And then I wonder, why isn't this working, or why isn't, this working out? But I haven't done anything about it. So the star card is there to tell you, got this guidance, you got the direction, you got the maps, you want to be happy, get to work. Okay, so that is card 16, the stars, or the star card. And then here, 17, this is the stork card. And I love this card. It's just so fun. So the stork, most of us know the stork. And if you watched cartoons growing up, like in the 70s and 80s, the stork was always there to bring the baby. And that's how, you knew someone was pregnant or someone was having a baby, because the stork brought the baby. So it's that it's that kind of connection, more, the modern connection of the stork bringing the baby. But the stork is also, a very revered symbol. And so the stork means, because it has this kind of presence, and it has this aura about it of changing and movement, and the storks. And there is a book that I'll have to look it up, but there's a book, The Wheel in the House, I think. But it's about the town that, puts out the wheels on their houses for the storks. I think it's storks to come and be there. And they didn't come one year, and I have to look that up. It was a story, but anyway, that kind of stories about the stork, and why, it became, why stork, of all the birds that, we could have used, why this stork. And you can see here the keywords that came from it, and how it's a good, it's a good word, and it's a good symbol to use. It can mean poise. It can mean esteem, admiration. It can also, mean a baby bringer. So it could be, something new, a new project. It could be an actual baby. It can be productivity, the renewal of something, change and movement and improvements. Things like if you're doing an addition to a house, or you wanted to, redecorate a room or something like that, the stork is symbolic of that. And because it's slow, it's change that's going to happen over a longer period of time. Whereas something like ship is might be faster, or rider especially is going to be, a little bit faster. So it's something that's going to happen over a longer period of time. And so here it could be 17 days at the 17th of the month. It is a positive card, and it can be a new influence in your life. It can be something that's coming up that's going to influence you, that's going to be something that's long lasting, or, that's stick with you. And in the Wicked Tales, she took the stork with the baby, and she has the stork with the baby there. And so it could have to do with timing. Are you ready for something that's new coming along? Are there things that you need to do to get ready? And the reflection question is, do you have trouble finishing a project? And so this can definitely be, I know that a lot of times I am an Aries sun, and I have a lot of cardinal energy, that I like to start things, but then I get burned out really fast. So this would be a good card for me to look at if that's something that is really hard for you. Do you have trouble finishing it? And, how can you use the stork card and that influence to make the timing, break it down into steps, and, so that you can slow it down and get it done. All right, number 18. So we're going to be halfway done, or halfway through the deck with this card. And so this is number 18, which is dog. And as a lifelong dog lover, and someone who's had lots of dogs in my life, I can definitely relate to this card. But you don't have to, you don't have to have dogs, you don't have to like dogs, but it is very much a symbol of what dogs stand for. So a best friend or a companion, protection, loyalty, fidelity, a significant other, an advisor. It can be support. It can be a guard or guardian. So any things, and this, I don't know why it keeps cutting these off at the top, but this was supposed to be service. I'll get there in a minute. I just noticed it, and so it's going to bother me. But anyway, a dog, what a dog stands for, and think about, even if you don't necessarily like dogs, what do they stand for? They are called, man's best friend, and they are, are very loyal, and, can definitely be part of the family. and dogs were bred, to do different things. When we had a farm, we had guard dogs. We had dogs that were bred to be guard dogs, and so that's what they did. And that was, even though they were family dogs as well, and they did, we did have bonds with them. Their first job was to protect things and to protect the animals and to protect the farm. So, think about that. And this is a good one that can be, a stand for someone in your life that is your friend. And so if you're, maybe you want to, you want to do a reading, about your friend or for your friend or with your friend. And so this is one that you can use for it to stand for that relationship. Or, it can be any significant other in your life, your dog, or, any significant other that you have a relationship with. And it's more of a relationship, a more kind of a loving relationship that you have with someone. And because it's that loyalty and protection. This is something that is slow. It's 18 days or the 18th of the month. It's a positive card. Can also mean help is on the way. And if you've ever watched any cartoons, again, 70s cartoons, and somebody was stuck in the snow, there was always the Saint Bernard that would go through with the little barrel around their throat, and they're around with their on their collar, and they would go to and rescue the person out in the snow. And we had a Saint Bernard and we had a Saint Bernard, and then we had a Saint Bernard Great Pyrenees mix. Those are two of our guard dogs that we had of the three. Well, actually four guard dogs we had. But anyway, our Saint Bernard Great Pyrenees mix, she was with us for a long time and was very much like that. She was very much, she and another one of our dogs got in a fight with a skunk out in the backyard one night, and like 11 o'clock at night. And so this was several years ago. So my daughter was still living at home, and so it was her dog that was the other dog that they were both out in the yard, in the middle of the night. And Sasha, the Saint Bernard, just kept going after the skunk. The skunk would stop and spray it, and she would just, and so it was not pleasant and it was not fun. But she was guarding the house. That was her job. And so, there's not really much I could do about it except, just say, please don't do that again. It was, that's my personal anecdote for dog is, having to go out in the middle of the night and get two of our dogs away from a skunk. So that, and here you see on the right with the wicked tails, Lenormand, here in this again should be Cerberus. And this is the guard dog, one of the guard dogs, the mythological guard dogs. And so, but it has three heads. And so it's about speaking and hearing. And so in a relationship, there is speaking, there's hearing, there's just going back and forth. There's, the fidelity of, being true to someone and being true to them as well, giving them that loyalty in return. And so here, how often do you say yes to something that you really don't want to do? And this was, I think, important because, you want to show support, but you also want to make sure that you're supporting yourself as well. So saying yes to something just out of obligation is not, you need to really think about it. All right, so that is cards 13 through 18. So we're done with the cards, and we're going to talk about the next way of reading this. And if you get the book, you'll find this, and this is on page, let's see if I can find it. On page, oh yes, page 274 in the books, if you wanted to go and actually do this and read along with it. But I'm going to kind of give you the short version so that you can do this and you can use just the first 18 cards that we've already done, or you can use all the cards if you want to. I did one I'm going to show you on the next slide with the card, just the first 18. So the box spread, it's a box spread because it looks like a box. And you have 3 cards here, 3 cards here, 3 cards here. And you'll lay them out, and the one in the middle, the E card, can be a significator. So if you have, just like the bear card that we talked about, maybe you wanted to do a reading about your boss, or something about, maybe you're getting ready to transition. Maybe you have a boss and that boss is retiring, leaving, something, and you want to find out about the new person that's coming in. And so you might put the bear in the middle and then draw the cards around it and read the cards as we're going to do here. And if you just have a question, like a lot of times I will use this as just like today, it happens to be the day I'm filming this, the new moon in Sagittarius. And so I might do this as a new moon spread. What do I need to know about the new moon cycle that's coming up? And so I would do this, and whatever card landed in the middle, then that would be my significator. That would be what I needed to focus on. And so you can do it either way. And I most of the time use it, and even if I'm asking about a specific thing, I will a lot of times let the cards give me the significator, because that just really gives it depth. If you're asking about your boss, whatever card comes up in the middle is going to give you a little bit more information about that. But you can do it either way that you want, and either way works fine, and either way works very well. So here we have the significator. So then you look at that, and that becomes, and a lot of times this becomes me, because I'm asking about something. And so I will say, like, what do I need to know about the new moon coming up? And so I would put, whatever card this is, this would be kind of representative of me, what I need to know about. And then I'll look at these cards, the A, D, and G. So these are the ones that represent the past. So you would read these 3 together and see what's happening in the past. You would read the 3 cards in the middle as the present, what's happening right now, including you or the significator. And then what may happen in the future. So this one, these 3 on the right are going to be, you're going to read those 3 together and get a message about the future. So then you're going to look at, and this seems like it's going to be a lot, but it's really not. And I'll show you a sample reading in a minute. So the concerns here, A, B, and C, and you can kind of think about, this is what's on your mind. This, because here, you are the significator. What's on your mind? What's concerning you? And so what are you thinking about? So you would read these 3 together about the concerns. And now, of course, you're going to, have cards that are in more than one place, and it's fine. And you'll read with it, and it'll be great. Then D, E, and F is the current situation, what's going on right now. So it's going to overlap a little bit with the present, but it's more kind of situational. And then G, H, and I, and you can see over here, this is the undercurrent. What's happening underneath? What's happening that you might not be aware of? And then you're going to read this X. So this is the X, the A, E, and I, plus the C, E, and G. So you have this X. So you have this X here, and you're going to read those together. So you'll read the A, E, and I, get a message with that, plus the message from the C, E, and G, and you'll see what's indirectly influencing you or the significator. Then you have a cross here with the B, E, and H, the D, E, and F. And so these are things that directly impact you. So these are more things that you might be aware of, but you need to know, you just need to know about it. And it's going to give you a message about it. Then you're going to look at this summation here. You're going to do this here, the B, D, H, F, and B. And she repeats this B. So you'll have this card, and this is that diamond. So B, D, H, F, and B. And so you'll read those cards, get a message from that, and that will kind of do a summary. And a lot of times it repeats things already that you know already, but that's okay. Lenormand is good about that. All right, so let's do a practice reading with the box spread. Okay, so this is called the Cute Little Lenormand, and this one you can get as a book, and it has a book, and then the cards are you just pop out the cards with it and make your deck, and it's really good because it just has the symbols on it. And I've taken this one, and this is my one that I've put keywords on. This is kind of my learning deck. So I put the keywords on it, and I just use the first 18 cards that we've already gone over, and I put the keywords on it so that it will be a little bit easier to do the box spread. And this is a good way to learn. It's a good way to do this. If you have a deck that you want to do this with, you can also do this. And if you have like small sticky notes, you can also do like a small sticky note and put just one keyword or one or two keywords, or put like maybe 3 keywords on the back. And then you could just flip it over and do that, and you can read along with it. But I just put this out so that you could see it. So the significator here is chosen, and this I chose this one intuitively. I just laid out, these 9 cards. I shuffled them, the 18 together, and just laid out these 9 to see. And this is a reading, what do I need to know for, I think I did it for December, for the month of December. And so looking at that, so we'll just look at it. And since this is kind of coming out, or I'll just do a month ahead. So if I were just sitting down and doing this for myself and saying, what do I need to know about the month ahead? So here's me in the middle. So I'm the snake. So the snake is deceit, difficulties, or inconvenience. And so, how does that mean for me? How am I as the snake, or this as the significator? How would I read that? And I would say that, in the month ahead, there might be things that are going to be inconvenient, that I might be inconvenienced by things, or I need to make sure that I'm very aware of being inconvenient to other people, that I am making sure that I'm getting what I need to get done, but I'm not making it difficult for other people. So I would kind of look at that and say, or maybe narrow it down, that there might be something that's coming up in this next month that's going to be difficult. And, what do I need to know about it so that I am aware of it and that I can deal with it? So what are some things that have happened in the recent past? So you can see, did I put these wrong? Yes, I did. So anyway, it should be A, D, and G. So I put the letters, so don't look at the letters. So A, D, and G. So here's the past. So we're going to look at joy, happiness, and admiration, punishment, oppositions, or exercise, and news, communications, or discussion. So I'm going to look at these 3 cards on the left. So the A, the D, should be the D and the G here, but these are in the past. So things have, maybe the last month, things have been happy. Things that I've had to, things that I've had to do, maybe had to do over again, or things like exercise or chores or things like that. I've been happy with it, and there's been good discussions. Things have been, I've got news that's been good. But now coming up in the present, so here, this should be the B, E, and H. This should be H here instead of F. But the B, E, and H in the middle, this is the present. So what am I dealing with right at this moment? And so I'm dealing with maybe something that is devious or stealthy, that I might need to think that I need to survive, and definitely something that's difficult. But it's going to turn out in the end. It's something that even through these things, these difficulties, things that maybe have been, sneaky or tricky, it's all been good. It's all turned out well and and will turn out in the future. But looking ahead in the month. And so here, looking ahead, what do I want to look at? So this ahead would be the future. So here, this should be C, F, and I. So here in the future, something is going to end. Something around my house is going to end. Something that I need to, be very aware of. And this is very fitting because my youngest son is moving out at the end of the month. This is December. I'm doing this in December. So it's already, it's giving me that message that, something is ending, something in my house, and something that is maternal. So that right there, and something that I need to know about, and something I need to be prepared for, and definitely something that definitely something that's going to be a concern, be on my mind. So A, B, and C, what what is it? What how what have I been? How have I been concerned about it? And what are some things I need to really think about in the future? And so how this, yes, is something that's happy, that is something that is good for him moving out on his own. And even though it's going to be something that is ending and it's going to be hard for this mama bear, it is something that is good, and it's going to be, because I've got this joy card here. And then the current situation, and here this should be D, E, and F. So the current situation is something that has been happening. He's lived here for a long time. He's going to college, and so he needs his own he needs his own space, and he needs his own space. And this is he's moving into his own space. So this is something that has happened. This current situation, this is something that's kind of ongoing, that's been going on every day. But now that he's in moving, it's almost finished with school, and it's something that he needs to have convenience, and he needs to have a place that is his own. And so then the undercurrent, and again, this should be G, H, and I. And so here, the undercurrent, these are the things that are on the bottom. So you can just think these ones that underneath are ones that can be, lower hand. And so these are ones that are underneath. And so this, the birds, the clover, and the bear. So these are, pretty, underneath it all, it's pretty good. Something that is, we've had to do a lot of discussions on. We've had to have communications with lots of different, with him, and with the real estate agents, and all of those things to move him into his new place. But we've been very, very lucky in how things have happened and things that have gone on. And it's going to be him moving out into his own power. And it's very interesting that this is how it ended up being the reading about. And as you do these readings and you do this kind of thing, you'll see how it fits in and what you need, the message that you need to get out of it. And Lenormand is great for that. All right, so let's finish up. So we have A, E, and I. So these are indirect influences, so this can be, especially since this is me, I'm kind of identifying with the bear here. So, it's been happy things. Happy things have gone into, where we are now and where he is now. And then the C, E, and G, I'm so sorry that these letters are wrong. But here, this other part of the X here, the scythe, the snake, and the birds. So again, it's something that is, the indirect influence, things have to move on. Things have to move on. And even though some things have been inconvenient and maybe have we've had to have some discussions, in the end, it's going to be, this just really positive, beautiful thing. And then the direct impact is here. We have we had the X before. So now we're going to do the cross. So we're going to cross here and across here. So we're going horizontally and vertically. So we have this middle horizontal line and then this middle vertical line. So we've got whip, the snake, the house. Again, this is directly impacting him and us and, the things that are going on in the house. And then here, the fox, the snake, and the clover. So, going on and doing things that need, that need to be moving, that need to change and need to move out, it's going to, in the end, because we have this, we end up with this clover down here, and it's going to be beautiful, and it's going to be, opportunity and success for him. And it's also going to be an opportunity and success for me, because I am, now things are changing, things are, different, but it's going to be lucky, and I'm going to be moving on. You can see the bears moving on to different things, just as he is. And so here she does this summation, this diamond here. So with the fox, the whip, the clover, and the house, and back to the fox. And so if you read those, it's protecting your family. It's making sure that things don't go on the way they should if they really need to change, because the change is going to bring success and opportunity. And, it's going to be, him leaving one house, but going to, a new house. And so it's going to be a good thing. In the end, all of it is going to work out very well. It's going to be something that's great for the family, great for him, and something that maybe there, and the whole story behind what has happened. There was a little bit of deviousness and things that we thought were one way on the outside and ended up being different on the inside. So, it's very fitting that it comes, kind of comes out in this reading, as this is what, I'm looking forward to in this, on the end of this month and into January. So that is the box spread, and I will correct the letters on this and post this so that you can see it. And so when you look at it, and so that it looks like this, so that you'll be able to see exactly like this, where this is. And so you'll be able to know, and it'll make more sense as you go along and you do a reading for yourself. But this is the box spread. And like I said, it's one of my favorite spreads to use with Lenormand, because it is more expansive than just the 5 or 7 cards. You can really get into it. There's lots of depth that you can go into with it, and it tells you a lot without being like a grand tableau where you have all 36 cards. Now, grand tableaus are fun and they're great, and they are, especially this time of year, if you're doing this, like looking ahead for a year, it's a wonderful one to do. I do a lot of them. I usually do for me and my husband at the beginning of the year, to look at what's going on. And you can do this, a grand tableau for your business, anything that's coming up for you, but it needs to be, much longer time frame, and something that is something like this is much more short and to the point, so that you can do this and give it like a moon cycle or a month, or you could do this even for a week. You could look at this and say, what do I really need to be concerned about this week? And look at what comes up in the middle, and see what you really should be on your mind, what has happened in the past, what you need to know about in the present, what is looking forward, what should you do in the future. And so it's really good for those kinds of reading. And so that's why whenever I do a Lenormand reading, usually it's this box spread, this 9 card spread. So I wanted to really bring that to you. and let you see it in action, and so that you can use this spread, because it's a great one. And Lenormand is so great for just getting to the point and giving you messages and giving you things to do, and pointing you in the right direction. And is it something that's going to happen quickly, or is it something that's going to happen slowly? And so you see it here. There are some things that are happening quickly in this, because he will be gone, and one day we'll move him out, and he will be there. But it's also, settling in, him settling in, us settling in. It's going to be, kind of slow as well. So it tells you those kinds of things. So that's it. I could go on and on about the box spread, but you can read about it. I'll post this so that you can see this corrected slide, and you can see you can have this for yourself, that you can download and use for yourself. And then going on for class 6, which I'm hoping to have up much more quickly than I did class 5, but anyway, it'll be here when it's here. But class 6, we're going to move it on, and the cards 19, the Tower, or Tower. It's not the Tower like in tarot, but 19 is Tower, 20 Garden, 21 Mountain, 22 Crossroads, 23 Mice, and 24 Heart. So we're going to work on those 6 cards. And then in the book on pages, Raina George's book, this one, the decision spread on page 281 to 287. And again, that's another thing that Lenormand is really, really good at. If you are trying to decide especially between 2 things that seem that either one could work, Lenormand is there. It will let you know, and it will give you an answer. And so we'll work on that, and we'll do a decision spread on the next time. All right, that is it for, let me stop sharing. So that's it for class 5. I know this was long, and I appreciate you sticking with it. But it's also, I think, just Lenormand is just so interesting, and as a professional tarot reader, it's so different from reading tarot, and I don't think it'll ever take the place in my heart that tarot has. But it's so fun to read with, and it just gives you such different messages, and it's such a fun way to read. And the cards are small, and they're fun to work with, and you can really personalize them, because there's lots of different themes out there with Lenormand cards, and so that you can get one that really works for you, and it's really fun to do. So that was class 5 and lessons from Lenormand, and I will see you hopefully again soon in class 6. Bye.